Last of Us Episode 4 is now out on HBO Max for you guys to go and check out. Now, I've just watched it. I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts on it. Let me know yours down in the comments below. Smash that like button, click subscribe, and let's get into this review of Episode 4 right now. Okay, so Episode 4 of Last of Us is out now, and this one is a 45-minute long episode, which I don't mind because that's a standard runtime when it comes to TV episodes, so I'm completely fine with that. But what I do like and appreciate is obviously when we're dealing with secondary characters and giving them a bit more backstory, we're taking that extra time and giving extra minutes in the runtime, like last week's episode in the first episode. That is awesome. So I'm predicting probably next episode we're going to get a longer episode, which I'm excited for because that means we're going to dive into new characters potentially, or maybe a different, because we did see some new characters in this episode. But this episode that we're talking about is all about Joel and Ellie. And this episode is all about expanding and going into depth of those characters and building that relationship even more. Now, we now know that Joel from the first episode had a daughter of his own, but this episode is really starting to establish that father-daughter connection between Joel and Ellie, and I find it absolutely fantastic. And you see that progression throughout this whole entire episode with Joel, a guy who holds his cards very close to his chest, who doesn't open up naturally to anyone, who doesn't trust anyone. You've got to earn his trust, to now him starting to open up about things towards Ellie and starting to actually give two shits about her. And that's what this episode is all about. And that's what I love. HBO Max are taking the time to do that. Now, this episode, we follow them as they are continuing their journey to Wyoming to find, I believe it is Tommy, his brother. But when they get, caught in a blockade at Kansas City that they can't go through, they've got to go around. Instead of taking the long way, which we all know, you take the long way no matter what. You never take the short way because things happen. And that's what happens. They get caught up in Kansas City. They find out that there's this new faction of people, not the government, not the Fireflies, a different faction of people. So it's just probably just standard people by the looks of it, who are just rebelling against the government. And thereafter certain characters that we do meet at the end of this episode. Now, I find it so fascinating that we are seeing these characters really open up. We're starting to see Ellie come out of her shell more and start to really communicate with Joel and show her concerns. Like, there's this moment where they're camping in the forest at the start, and she's really concerned that, she asked Joel, like, why can't I make a fire? And it's not because the fungi zombies. It's not because of them, because they're not smart enough. Joel says they're not smart enough to notice the smokes or anything, but it's about people. Now, when it comes to apocalypse, like zombie apocalypse, like the one we are watching right now, sometimes the creatures themselves are not the most dangerous. It's people, because people just decide, instead of working together to destroy a common enemy, now let's just F everyone else over to make sure that we're okay. And that's what happens. And obviously, Ellie is very concerned about that, but Joel is reassuring her that. And this is where we see that father-daughter connection really start to take shape. And you see Joel start to care. And there's this book that this is the little things that actually make it so great. There's this book, a pun book. And there's like, those puns that are just hilarious, that like where you just scratch your hands and go, absolute dumb. Well, that is in here, and Ellie is telling Joel some of that. And Joel is trying his best to not laugh or anything like that. But then as we progress and we get to the end, Joel and Ellie, at this one moment at night, she says this one to him, and he cracks up. And you can just see the walls start to come down. You can start to see that Joel is starting to accept that he's got to take care of her. Like, starting to accept, I've got to be the father figure for her. She has no one but me. And I love that. And we're obviously seeing a new side of Ellie as well, as we find out that this isn't her first time that she shot someone. This isn't her first time, because she does shoot someone in here. Obviously, we know from last episode that she got the gun and she hid it from Joel, and she used it to save Joel. Now, Joel says to her, like, you shouldn't see this for the first time and everything like that. But she opens up and says, that wasn't my first time. Like, this isn't the first time I've used it. And we saw that in this episode as well, as she knew how to work her way around a gun. We know how she was able to take the bullets out and put them back in. everything like that. So she has obviously handled a gun before. So this makes it very interesting. And she doesn't want to open up to Joel completely yet and give the story about the first time she actually shot someone, which I find fascinating. I really want to know that story. Who did she actually shoot? It's very interesting. And that's what I mean. These characters are so interesting. Like, if you're looking for this series that is an apocalypse series that is full of action, full of just zombie getting killed, running through, shooting everything, this isn't the show for you. This isn't that show. This show is all driven by character and narrative. And the story is so incredibly great. It's about a man and a girl developing a father-daughter relationship as they try and navigate through the apocalypse, with her having the ability to not get infected. So obviously she's the key. And that's what is so great. And it's driven by these characters that are so freaking well written. They are so great. And the performances, man. Pedro Pascal. If anyone didn't think this guy was a world-class actor, this show is showing you exactly. Like, this guy's gonna win an Emmy. Bella Ramsey, many people didn't want to see her in the role of Ellie and said, why are you casting her? She is fantastic as Ellie. She is probably going to win an Emmy as well. She is absolutely fantastic. Like, this show is solely highly driven when it comes to performances. And this new faction of people, they are menacing. They looked unhinged. And the leader looks like she doesn't want to mess around. And she showcases that in this episode. So when we see her, she's got this guy that is detained, and she's like, oh, you don't think I'll shoot you or anything? She goes back, and she's like, oh, can we save him? No, not even with a doctor. She goes back and shoots him. Like, she obviously doesn't want to mess around, so we know this. So now that they're stuck in Kansas City, this is going to be interesting, especially with that ending. Obviously, those characters at the end, they are the ones that these people are after. They are. So I'm very, very interested to see how Joel and Ellie are going to handle this situation now. And what I also love is Joel opening up to Ellie and giving her the gun and showing her how to hold the gun so it doesn't get ripped out of her hands. I really find that. And that's him accepting, I can't shield her anymore from this world. Like, this world is here. We're in this world right now. She needs to learn to protect herself, and I need to let her protect herself. So I find that really, really fascinating. I'm super intrigued about what is going to happen with that thing in the basement thing, where the new faction of people actually found, and they're like, we won't tell anyone yet. That could be huge, because that looks like it's not very nice. It looks like it's going to be pretty nasty. So that has me excited for episode 4. I'm loving this show. I am absolutely, like, I never thought I would say this, but these 4 episodes may be almost as good as the first 4 episodes of House of Dragon. And I tell you what, House of Dragon was absolutely phenomenal. But this show, if we're talking, this show is in that level. And that HBO is taking so much care with The Last of Us. And I'm absolutely super excited. So I cannot wait for episode 4. Let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Smash down that comment section below. Smash that like button for me. And click subscribe as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay safe. Peace out.